Hair comes in 3 textures: straight, wavy, and curly. And each variation has a small, medium, and large version. And some curls are a lot tighter than others. And even though you have so many options for your hair, some of those options lead to a lot of damage. And today we're going to talk about the proper way to set the bonds in the hair. But give this video a thumbs up and click on that bell notification so you're notified every single time I post another video. This beauty has a beautiful curly hair, and this video is about 6 years ago. Now, when your hair is unstretched, it is alpha keratin. Remember, your hair is made of a protein called keratin. Your hair is a fiber. And when your hair is stretched, okay, and dried, your hair is in beta keratin. And that is the state that your hair will be in until the bond is broken again, putting your hair back in alpha keratin. Okay, so your hair is made up of 3 bonds: the salt bond, the hydrogen bond, and the disulfide bond. The hydrogen bond is the bond that is broken by water, okay? And the salt bond is the bond in the hair that is broken by highly acidic products. And if you are wetting the hair too much or using a whole lot of homemade products or highly acidic products, you break those 2 bonds permanently. And what that does, it ends up weakening the hair's cuticle. Now, the picture that you're looking at right now is what your hair's cuticle actually looks like. All of those different layers, that is the hair's cuticle. And those little parts underneath where the cuticle stops, that is the cortex of the hair shaft. So all of these different layers are the cuticle, and that is what's protecting the cortex of your hair shaft, which is the most important part of your hair shaft. This is why your porosity is so important. When you know your porosity, you know how easy or how hard it is to get in between those layers to be able to protect the cortex properly. Right in the lower right hand corner is what the human hair shaft looks like. You have the outer layer, which is the cuticle, the inner layer, which is the cortex. The cortex is where all of the melanin in your hair lives. So what makes your hair lighter or darker, if you go into a hair salon and you get hair color, or if you color your hair yourself, if you get your hair lightened, what they're going to do is go within the cortex of the hair shaft and remove melanin, right? And then we'll tone it to make sure that the cover evens out, right? Put the other forms of color, other forms of melanin in that we want, or pigment that we want in, and then you have a new hair color. This is how it works. But after you color your hair, you have to make sure that you smooth the cuticle. And when I am using a round brush on the hair shaft, what I am doing is smoothing the cuticle and setting her hair in beta keratin. I am giving her hair direction and telling her hair, hey, I want you to close cuticle. I need you, as the hydrogen bond is setting, as you are going from alpha keratin to beta keratin, I want you to stay in this position until I break the hydrogen bond again with water. And that is the overall scientific breakdown in layman's terms of what is happening whenever you are changing the structure of your hair. Now, the thing that I don't like about wash and goes and twist outs is it doesn't allow you to give your hair proper direction. Most people don't understand that the average person has anywhere between 1 to 3 strands protruding out of each pore. The follicle in the pore is different. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but here on the screen, what you are looking at is the inside of the group linked to my 7-day challenge. Now, you cannot join this group unless you are a part of the paid 7-day hair growth challenge, but within there, we break down all of these old foundations, and they have things to replace them with. The beauty that you seen at the beginning, she'll be on again at the end really quick. She ended up blow drying her hair and doing a flexi rod set on her hair. And if you don't want to blow dry your hair, you can do a flexi rise set the regular way with a leave-in conditioner and a foam wrap. But it is imperative that you set the bonds in your hair. A lot of people like to argue and go back and forth about whether or not you should air dry, and they want to like throw up, oh, scientific, all of this stuff. Listen, let's just have a moment of common sense. If the average person if everybody has 100,000 follicles on their scalp, 100,000 holes on their scalp, right? And you have anywhere between 1 to 4 strands protruding out of each pore. That means that you are on average going to have anywhere between 100,000 strands of hair and 400,000 strands of hair on your head at one time. So for you to just let your hair air dry is crazy, because every single follicle is independent. So you have 100,000 follicles, right? But none of them are on the same time schedule. None of them have the same exact hair growth cycle or anything. So it is really imperative that you help your hair strands to dry all evenly at the same time, because each follicle is independent, right? But sharing a pore, which I'm going to show you an example of in a second, sharing a pore. Oh, and then again, this video is 6 years old, so this is a stylist that used my products and she's just showing it. But again, I don't have a product line no more. But anywho, so when you are a person who, when you have 1 to 4 strands of hair coming out of one pore, then what will happen is each one of these are independent. So if you're just allowing your hair to air dry at one time, the chances of all 100,000 to 400,000 strands of hair being dry is like really slim to none. This is why if you are a person who kind of let your hair air dry and then silk press your hair, and then you go outside and your hair reverts back really fast, it's because the silk press wasn't done properly. And that's another thing that happens when it comes to heat damage. If you go and get your hair flat ironed and you have a hair shaft disorder like the one here on the screen, which a lot of women have who wear their hair natural all the time, and then you go put heat on your hair, what happens is you end up giving yourself heat damage. This is where heat damage comes from, not the flat iron, but undiagnosed and untreated hair shaft disorders. And if you could imagine what I just taught you about the cortex of the hair shaft and all of that, the cortex is where the sulfur to sulfur linkages live that make your hair curly, right? That's where it lives. So if your hair shaft looks like this and you put a flat iron over it and the cuticle has holes in it, and you have hydro fatigue because you keep your hair wet all the time, and you always have a lot of products layered on the hair shaft is weak. The cuticle is weak. The more products you lay on the hair shaft, the weaker the cuticle gets. So it's an oxymoron to constantly put products on the scalp and to layer products on top of not the scalp, but layer products on top of the hair shaft, because it ends up hurting your hair shaft long term. It feels good in the moment, but long term it ends up hurting the hair shaft. And that's why you are in a repetitive cycle of, buying hair products to help you style your hair, and then after a while you have to buy products from the same exact company to help repair your hair from the damage that was caused to it from styling it, right? So again, don't have my product line anymore, but the heat protectant that I am using, you can use a replacement for. Kimra is an amazing heat protectant that I used when I didn't have the product line, or once I closed it. All right. So again, right now I am going ahead and starting the flat ironing process. When you are getting your hair done either by yourself or in a hair salon, the blowout is the most important part, again, but teaching you about the bonds that hold the hair together. If you do not get the bonds set properly, your hair is going to revert back. Now, funny story within my group, right? We were having this conversation because all of my group members kept telling me about some guy or a person who just kept making videos about me and saying that my information was wrong and all of this stuff. And I'm like, well, y'all, okay, I don't want misinformation spreading about me, and I don't want it to confuse people. Not because I don't want people talking about me, I don't care nothing about that, but I just didn't want people talking about me. So I said, tell me who they are, leave them in the chat, and I'm gonna get to it in the video because I don't have time for this. But let me tell you something. When my gurus sent me the links, it was all of the same man, and I said, you know what I will not do is acknowledge or go back and forth with a man with a flexi rod set in his beard. I'm just not gonna do that. You guys, here on the screen you can see so many of the members of the 7-day challenge getting results. Within the 7-day challenge, you guys, I am not like, oh, use this product and use this product. No, we're breaking down old foundations and we're building up new hacks. Not new hacks, right? Not new hacks that are going to hack the system, but new ways to hack into your mind so you can open it up, so you can really begin to learn, right? For example, here is somebody within my challenge. Look at the dates. In less than 3 weeks, in less than 3 weeks, she was able to go from this bald spot to it beginning to completely fill in. And I'm gonna tell you something, give us 3 months, it'll be like this bald spot never happened. Because when you are allowing your hair or your scalp to remain wet, when you are packing the scalp full of butters and oils, look at the follicle. So each pore, right, your pores and your follicle are different. The hair is developing within a follicle, but it comes out through the pore. So within each follicle, right, has its own hair growth cycle, but each different hair comes out of the same pore. You may have 1 to 4 strands coming out of each pore, but if you are greasing the scalp, or if you always have wet hair, guess what? The bacteria that lives on your scalp, the perfect environment for that bacteria is wet and oily places, because its favorite food is oil, right? Its favorite food is oil, and it loves the moisture. All bacteria loves moisture. So within the 7-day challenge, we just go over patterns and routines. We don't do the whole team natural thing, you guys. I'll give them the real products based on their porosity, and then they're talking to each other all the time. Iron is sharpening iron. Whenever somebody gets confused, whenever somebody gets stuck, if I can't get to it, they're helping each other. And you guys, we have options. All right, yes, it may be more time consuming, but she was able to heal her bald spot and get all of this hair growing back in less than 3 weeks, you guys, just from changing her patterns. She went ahead, took the time, did a flexi rod set, and her hair is freaking beautiful. She's able to go to work without worrying about having to get up and pick it out and put more product in it when she wakes up. No, bonnet off, out the door. And these are the simple, simplistic routines and patterns that I want you guys to have. You do not have to take my 7-day challenge, but I want you guys to at least go ahead, binge watch my videos. You do not have to take my word for it. I'm not trying to make up a new hat, trying to make up a new fad. It's impossible for me to be spreading misinformation, you guys, when all I am doing is giving you guys the things that I was tested on at State Board. Everything that comes out of my mouth, you can go and ask a medical professional. So now at this point, this is how every last appointment went when I was behind the chair. Again, this video is 6 years old, but everything that I'm saying to you and everything that I tell my clients within the 7-day hair growth challenge, pause, sidebar, this beauty on the screen within the 7-day challenge, she found her a hairstylist that is masterful, got her hair together, okay, together. We get results. We're not making up stuff and sharing opinions. No, we're getting results, and we have support there. So the client that I have that's sitting in the chair, as you can see, she has a breakage, right? Quite a lot of breakage. And the way that I would trim hair or cut hair is a lot different than what you are used to seeing, because the breakage is a lot different. Every time I part the hair, you can see that there are different holes that you don't see when the hair is all straight down, right? And I wish that it was different, but the angles that I see and the angle that you see, even looking at the camera, are completely different. Like, I could see through to her hair and see where all of the holes are. So I go around and I cut my initial guide based on the holes and the spaces and the gaps that I see within her hair. And then after I make this guide based on the breakage that I can go ahead and freehand, then I go back all around and do a full 360 cut, right? And I use different levels of elevation to create different layers, because when you have certain types of breakage, a lot of times you think you just have to go and cut everything off in big chop. I've always been so anti big chop. You do not have to big chop. Go to a professional that knows what they're doing, right? You see that hole right there? It looks like I'm parting the hair that way, but I'm not. Like, there were different holes underneath, and you'll see that in a second as I begin to go around. And this is what I mean. I'm not saying like, oh, I hate twist outs and wash and goes, forget y'all, I'm tearing y'all down. No, I don't care about none of that. We're talking about the science of hair. And when you look at your hair as what it is, what it actually is, a protein and a fiber. When something is a fiber, you really have to be careful of the way that you do it. For example, yeah, you have certain clothes that you will hang to dry, but there are also certain clothes that cannot be hung. And
like
look at this beauty. This is the beauty that I was talking about. She said, oh my God, like, my hair feels so freaking amazing. Like, she hasn't had to do anything to her hair for over a week. She just blow dried it. She puts the flexi rods in at night, and then boom shakala boom, she gets up super cute. You can still have your Team Natural Styles. You can still wear your hair. You can still wear your natural hair. It's still your natural hair. It is still growing out of your scalp, but you can aid your bonds in setting, right? You can aid your hair in having uniformity. I love you guys, but if you just really, like, let's do the common sense thing again, to expect over 100,000 to 400,000 strands of hair, and each one of those strands have a different follicle coming out of the same pore. Sometimes it's crazy to think that these things are going to dry at the same rate. It's just something that's really, really unreasonable. And even though for a moment your hair may seem like it feels really good, long term down the line it doesn't. And the human body is very, very fickle like that. You know that there are times where you'll have somebody, I'll use myself for an example. My father passed away when he was in his 60s, his early 60s actually, and he looked healthy his whole life. I remember the food that my dad used to eat. Like, I would see stuff and I would be like, Dad, you shouldn't eat that. Like stereotypical Southern food. That's how my dad ate. My dad was from Memphis, Tennessee, and moved to Detroit, but that's how he ate, like grease, pig feet, hog maws. And one day, out of nowhere, my father's body started breaking down slowly. But my father's body didn't really start breaking down until he got like 60, 61. His body just started failing him. And then one day my father got up to use the bathroom, and there was blood in his urine, and his body was just breaking down. And then less than 6 months later, my father passed away, and we didn't even know what was going on. To this day, we don't know what happened, right? He went to the doctors, didn't tell us, think we really think that he had them say, you know, don't tell them anything. But I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or nothing. It doesn't, I'm okay, you guys. It's been 10 years, but I'm using that as an example to let you know that things within the human body is not instant. It doesn't work like that. And I know that we like to see our hair as something separate from the other organs and things like that in our body, but it's not. Your hair is a live, living part of your body that is still attached to the blood supply. So things that you do now, you could be doing Team Natural for 12-13 years, everything's okay, and then one day your body just says no more, I can't take it anymore. So when I make these videos, I just make these videos for three reasons. For the women who are like, okay, I can see how that was a mistake, let me fix it. Or women who decide that, you know, I don't really believe her, and then later on in life you run into this problem. These videos will forever be here. You can come back to these videos and figure out how to fix the problem. Or person number 3, you are a person who's always known this and you never jumped on the Team Natural bandwagon. You never, jumped onto the influencer market thing and got influenced, and you've always just stayed true and you didn't get influenced. This is your confirmation that you did nothing wrong and that you stayed true, 10 toes down. You stood on business, and I'm so proud of you. But this is how her hair came out. I loved when I had clients like her that trusted me 100% to get the job done, because it is so easy. Hair care is so easy, but we make it so hard and so difficult because things that are so simplistic, for whatever reason, we think we need shortcuts, and we do not need shortcuts. Most of the time, the shortcuts are the things that mess us up. So right now, I am setting her bond, not permanently, but setting this hair in beta keratin until the hydrogen bond is broken again with water. So I'm using a serum to do that. Silicone, yes. Make sure you click the link in the description box below so you can watch my full lecture on silicones and what I think about them, and how hairstylists never really stop using serums with a little bit of natural silicone in it. We never stopped doing that, right? I love you guys so much. If you've learned anything in this video, please leave it in the comments below. And before you go, if you've made it this far, I love you. In our next video, we are going to be talking about locks, why people with locks experience balding and how to avoid it, and the pros and cons of scratching the scalp with the picks and the forks, and adding oil to the scalp on locks, and how that adds to the balding. We're going to talk about all of it. I'm going to break it down scientifically. And let me say this, it's taken me so long to address locks because I love locks so much. I just don't want to get them, but I love them so much, and I don't want anybody to think that I disagree with anything that anybody does as it pertains to locks. But I just really want you guys to be able to retain the length and have your locks until you go up out of here. Okay, so again, there are so many different things that you can do to stretch your hair, and one of the main reasons why people who know how to treat the scalp properly when they have locks, there's a reason why people with locks retain so much length and their hair is to their butt, is because they keep their hair stretched, and for no other reason. Having your hair in locks is having your hair naturally stretched all the time. And if the scalp health is maintained and the follicles are clear, oh my God, you will retain that length forever. All right. Again, if you have enjoyed this video, and if you agree with anything that I said, or if you've learned anything new, then make sure you leave it in the comments below. Let me know what you think about her hair in this video. Her hair was so beautiful. She was able to keep up with her regimen. Everything that we talked about in the salon is the same thing that is packaged up within the 7-day hair growth challenge, you guys. guys, and I am so excited for 2024 as you guys open up to the science of hair care, losing the fads. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Bye.